Hey, ladies and gents, we are back with practical station and mine design. Now, you can use this design either and or. Some people had asked about why I use rock, why I use asteroids. The reason why I use asteroids is to get a very high hull HP. We're looking at 1.9 million hull right now for this station slash mine. The reason why I use it is because the rock does not have to be maintained. If I built the station out of, say, actual blocks of whatever, tritium, xanium, whatever, that all has to be maintained. So you would require, so a station with 1.9 million might require several hundred mechanics and several hundred crew in general to keep it up and running. Using the rock to get this IHP, I use very little crew. We're talking 11 mechanics and one sergeant with a crew pay of 1,200 credits every 3 hours. Very simple, very quick, efficient way of building mines. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money to crew this thing. Very nice. Same way with building it. Rock is relatively cheap. We're going to look here in the save designs. For example, this one I do believe is 124,000 and 61,000 iron. If you go to a station, and for example, this is some of the stuff I've captured: 346,000, almost 3 million credits. That one is 115,000. That's not too bad, but still 292,000. This one's a little bit more. So you can see, of course, but not just the cost-wise, materials and actual credits, but any of these stations like this that don't use rock require a lot of a fairly large crew, probably 5 to 10, maybe even 50 times more crew than this station does, which in the long run is going to cost you quite a bit of money having to crew multiple mines and stations. Hence why we use this. I'm using this design. Now, this design in general, since it's made out of rock, is immune to electrical weapons. It's also very high mass and has very high durability. So if you're dropping these in places you're not coming back to, or even if you're in an area and they drop pirates or headhunters on this kind of stuff, I'm never worried about these kind of rock stations or rock mines from ever being destroyed. They would have to run through lots of HP to get before I could get there and destroy them myself. This was an asteroid that I found, so I've modified it quite a bit. I've left the top up here for railguns, weapons in general. The top and bottom are both flat. Several of the little spots on here are relatively flat as well to be able to mount weapons. I've left this little, I kind of dug this out here for a reason. A lot of times I'll put a hangar bay in here, somewhat covered up by rock. If I decide that I'm going to cover it completely, I always can, and just leave the ends open so the fighters can come in and out. Whether it's I turn this into a station and it's transferring stuff back and forth between other stations, or using as for defense, dropping some fighters in there so we can defend the sector or the station. I've also put left the booms on here. You can take them off if you want. These booms are, of course, related to the transporter software video that I did, where you can use these stations if you get them close enough to be able to transfer back and forth. This is, in fact, I think a 6 systems 6 slot station. You can, of course, simply go down here and modify it and make it bigger and bigger and bigger until you get as many systems as you need. Usually 6 is plenty on this thing. Anything beyond that, you're talking about requiring more and more crew to do this. Being that it's upgradable, I've left, and you're probably wondering why I don't see anything here. I use, for the most part, we're going to Control C that. We're going to delete it. I've hollowed it out. We've put in 10,000 cargo and a very small crew quarters. That is a 10,000 block for the cargo holds. Typically, these stations, if it's in a high demand area, will never really fill up more than 10,000. If you get like a water station, maybe you might have to put 25,000. Most stations, or all stations, mines cannot hold more than 25,000. So you could have 45,000 cargo holds, but it'll never get full. It'll only get to 25,000. So I usually just start at the 10,000. Then see where it goes from there. If it turns out that I need more cargo room, I just simply click onto that, control copy it, and then add another 10,000 to this when I need it. Very simple. It's a cost-effective, practical station that's upgradable. So I'm going to put this up on the Steam Workshop for you guys to use if you want, or at least maybe give you guys an idea of where I'm going here with this, what I'm talking about with the practical, cost-efficient stations. Especially if you're starting out early in the game and this is going to be your first station, you ain't got a lot of credits, you don't got a lot of money, or you don't got a lot of money and you don't got a lot of material. This is going to work for you guys. So with that said, guys, thanks for watching, and have a good night.